The air conditioning in the law office hummed low, but it couldn't disguise the awkward silence that hung over the meeting room. Marina Sterling held the pen between her fingers, observing the fine print of the divorce agreement without actually reading it. She already knew every clause by heart. She had read that document so many times on sleepless nights that she could recite it from memory. Across the polished mahogany table, Robert Thompson tapped his fingers impatiently on a leather folder. His tailored Italian suit, his gleaming Swiss watch, his impeccable haircut. Everything about him screamed success, power, control. He didn't even look at Marina. His eyes roamed across his phone screen, a discreet smile on his lips as he typed messages to someone who certainly wasn't her. The mistress, the 24-year-old intern who now occupied the place Marina had unknowingly left vacant. Or perhaps she had never truly occupied it. Marina took a deep breath and signed the first page, then the second, the third. The sound of the pen gliding over the paper was the only noise in the room, besides the heavy breathing of Robert's lawyer, a corpulent man who was sweating even with the air conditioning on. Mr. Davies, Marina's lawyer, leaned slightly towards her and whispered, "Are you sure, Marina? There's still time to review the clauses. You're entitled to half of the assets, the house in Hampstead Heath, the apartment in Notting Hill, the company shares. You don't have to leave empty-handed." Marina raised her brown eyes, serene as a lake on a windless day, and smiled. A small, almost imperceptible smile, but one that carried an unwavering certainty. "I'm sure, Mr. Davies. I don't want anything that belongs to him." Robert finally looked up, surprised. For the first time in months, he truly saw her. But what he saw was a different woman from the one he had known. Marina wasn't trembling. She wasn't crying. She wasn't begging. She stood there, dressed in a simple but elegant outfit, her brown hair pulled back in a discreet bun, no heavy makeup, no jewelry. And there was something in her eyes that he couldn't decipher. "You're not asking for anything? Not even alimony? Nothing?" Robert's voice sounded more curious than relieved, as if he expected some kind of trap, some last-minute move. Marina merely shook her head. "I don't need anything from you, Robert. I've already wasted too much time trying to be enough for someone who never truly saw me. I won't waste another minute." The words came out calm, almost indifferent, but they weighed like stones on the table. Robert's lawyer cleared his throat, uncomfortable, and pushed the last pages towards Marina. She signed without hesitation. Robert did the same, in a hurry, like someone wanting to get rid of a burden. "There, it's done. You are now officially divorced." Mr. Davies's voice echoed in the room with the solemnity of a final verdict. Marina stood up, picked up her handbag, and extended her hand to Robert's lawyer, who shook it in surprise. Then she turned to Robert himself. He hesitated, but eventually accepted the handshake. "Good luck, Robert. I hope you find everything you're looking for." She didn't wait for a response. She turned and left the room, leaving behind 7 years of marriage, 7 years of silence, 7 years of being treated like furniture. The door closed softly behind her. Robert stood still for a moment, looking at the closed door. Something inside him twisted, a strange pang of discomfort he couldn't name. But it was quick. He shook his head, put away his phone, and smiled at his lawyer. "Best decision I ever made. Now I can finally live my life." Outside, Marina walked down the marble-floored corridor with firm steps. Her low heels tapped rhythmically against the floor, marking the beat of a new life. She didn't look back. There was nothing left there that deserved her attention. As she exited the commercial building on Oxford Street, the London autumn sun greeted her with a golden light. Marina paused for an instant on the bustling pavement, taking a deep breath of the city air. For the first time in years, she felt something akin to freedom. She pulled out her phone and made a single call. 2 rings. 3. "Hello? Marina?" The voice on the other end was deep, paternal, affectionate. Marina smiled, a genuine smile this time. "Uncle Augustus, it's done. I signed the papers. I'm free." There was a pause, and then the voice replied with tenderness. "My dear girl, I'm so proud of you. The car is already on its way. We'll celebrate this new phase of your life as it deserves." Marina hung up and waited, leaning against the glass wall of the building. Minutes later, a black luxury sedan pulled up in front of the building. The chauffeur got out and opened the back door for her. Marina got in, settling into the soft leather seat. The car drove off, taking her away from that closed chapter. As the London traffic slid past the window, Marina closed her eyes and let her memory take her back. Not to the failed marriage, not to the silent humiliations, but to 6 months ago when everything began to change. She was still living with Robert, still pretending the marriage had a chance, when she received an unexpected call from a lawyer who claimed to represent the estate of a woman named Helen Richmond. The name meant nothing to Marina, but the lawyer insisted they needed to meet. It was urgent. It had to do with her mother. Marina accepted the meeting more out of curiosity than hope. Her mother, Sarah Sterling, had been a simple woman, a seamstress, who had raised Marina alone in Croydon. She had died of heart complications when Marina was only 18. She had never spoken about Marina's father. She always changed the subject when her daughter asked. Marina grew up believing her father had simply abandoned them, and she had learned to live with that absence. At the lawyer's office, Marina received a box of old papers. Inside, yellowed letters, faded photographs, and a sealed envelope addressed to her. With trembling hands, Marina opened the envelope and read the letter written by her own mother years earlier, left with instructions to be delivered only after her death. The words in the letter revealed a truth Marina had never imagined. Her mother had been passionately in love with a man named Gabriel Worthington, heir to a traditional family of hoteliers. They met when Sarah worked as a chambermaid in one of the family's hotels. Their love was intense but impossible. Gabriel was promised to another woman, an alliance arranged by their families. When Sarah discovered she was pregnant, Gabriel begged her to wait, promised he would leave everything to be with her and the child. But before he could fulfill his promise, Gabriel suffered a car accident and passed away. Sarah, devastated and without support from Gabriel's family, who rejected her, decided to raise Marina alone, far from everything and everyone. The letter ended with a plea for forgiveness and a revelation. Gabriel had a younger brother, Augustus Worthington, a man Sarah never sought out for fear of being rejected again. But she left all the evidence, all the letters, all the photos, so Marina could decide what to do with that truth. Marina left that office in shock. She spent weeks investigating, researching, gathering courage. Augustus Worthington was a public figure, one of the most respected businessmen in England, single, childless, dedicated to the family's hotel empire. Marina was afraid of being seen as an opportunist, a gold digger. But something inside her demanded answers, demanded connection. Finally, she sent a letter to Augustus's office, attaching copies of the documents and photos. She waited weeks without a reply. She believed she might have been ignored, dismissed. But then, on a rainy April afternoon, her phone rang. It was Augustus. "Marina, is it true? Are you my brother's daughter?" His voice trembled with emotion. Marina could barely respond, tears blurring her vision. "I am, Uncle. I am." And so began a relationship that would change everything. Augustus asked to meet her in person. They met at a discreet cafe in Mayfair. Augustus brought old photos of Gabriel. Marina saw, for the first time, the face of the father she had never known. The resemblance was undeniable. The same eyes, the same shy smile, the same high forehead. Augustus cried as he hugged her. He said Gabriel had been his hero, his best friend, that the family had suffered immensely from his loss, that he had never known of Marina's existence, but now that he did, he would do everything to make up for lost time. "You are all that's left of him, Marina. You are my family." In that moment, Marina understood that she was no longer alone in the world. And it was Augustus who, upon learning of her marriage situation, Robert's betrayal, the way he treated her, insisted that she divorce. But Marina asked for secrecy. She wanted to resolve it alone, without interference. She wanted Robert to sign the papers, believing she would leave destroyed, with nothing. She wanted him to have the false victory, because Marina knew the true victory was yet to come. The car stopped in front of an elegant residential building in Kensington. Marina opened her eyes, returning to the present. The chauffeur opened the door, and she stepped out, greeted by the doorman with a respectful smile. "Good afternoon, Mrs. Sterling. Mr. Worthington is waiting for you on the terrace." Marina went up to the top floor where Augustus had a spacious apartment overlooking the city. Upon entering, she found her uncle on the balcony, watering plants. He was a tall man, with well-groomed gray hair, piercing blue eyes, and a welcoming smile. Seeing her, he opened his arms. "My dear niece, how was it?" Marina let herself be embraced, feeling the warmth and security she had never had. "It was exactly as I expected. He signed everything without batting an eyelid. He must be celebrating now." Augustus laughed, shaking his head. "The fool has no idea what he lost. But that's no longer your problem, Marina. Now you will live the life you always deserved. And I will be by your side every step of the way." Marina smiled, but there was a spark of something more in her eyes. It wasn't revenge. It was justice. It was rebirth. It was the beginning of something Robert could never imagine. And so, while Robert celebrated what he believed to be his great victory, Marina took the first step towards a future that would change everything. The game had just begun, and this time she knew all the rules. 3 weeks had passed since the signing of the divorce papers. 3 weeks that, for Marina, felt like an eternity of transformations. She had completely moved into the apartment Augustus had prepared for her, a bright and welcoming space in Notting Hill, tastefully decorated and filled with small details that showed her uncle's affection. Paintings on the walls, plants in the windows, a bookshelf full of books she had always wanted to read but never had time for. For the first time in years, Marina woke up, without the weight of anxiety, without having to prepare coffee exactly as Robert liked it, without having to choose discreet clothes so as not to overshadow the wife of a successful executive, without having to silence her own desires to fit into the narrow mold he had created for her. But Marina knew the peace was temporary. Augustus had plans, big plans, and she had agreed to participate in them, not for revenge, but because she finally had a chance to be seen, to be recognized, to exist. That Thursday morning, Augustus called early. "Wear something nice today, Marina. Something elegant. We're going out. Is there an event?" "Something like that. Trust me." Marina chose a navy blue dress with an impeccable cut, discreet but sophisticated. Mid-heeled shoes, simple but quality jewelry. When she looked in the mirror, she barely recognized the woman staring back at her. It wasn't the faded Marina of the marriage. It was someone new, someone she was beginning to know and like. Augustus picked her up in an even more luxurious car than the previous one. He was impeccable, as always, in a gray suit and discreet tie. He smiled when he saw her. "You look beautiful, Marina. Ready to change your life for good?" She took a deep breath. "Ready." They went to an elegant restaurant in the Canary Wharf area, known for being frequented by London's business elite. Augustus had reserved a table in the outdoor area, visible, strategic. During lunch, they talked about the family business, about the hotels, about the opportunities opening up. But Marina knew there was something more. Augustus was tense, expectant. That's when she saw it. A discreet photographer, positioned a few meters away, capturing the moment. Marina stiffened. "Uncle, someone is photographing us." Augustus took a sip of wine, calm. "I know, let them photograph." Marina understood. This was not a casual lunch. It was a public declaration. Augustus took her hand across the table, a paternal, affectionate gesture, but one that, through the lenses of those cameras, could be interpreted differently. And that was exactly what he wanted. "Trust me, Marina. This is necessary." She trusted him. She finished lunch naturally, laughing at Augustus's stories, feeling genuinely happy. As they left the restaurant, more flashes went off. Augustus kept her hand resting on his arm, walking elegantly to the car. All very chivalrous, all very ambiguous. In the following days, Marina avoided social media, but Augustus didn't. He showed her the first articles that began to circulate, photos of her and him at the restaurant with speculative headlines. Who is the mysterious woman next to billionaire Augustus Worthington? Romance in sight? Has the country's most coveted bachelor finally found someone? Marina read everything with a mixture of discomfort and disbelief. Uncle, this is going to cause a lot of trouble. People will think that exactly what I want them to think. For now, when we reveal the truth, the impact will be even greater. And until then, your ex-husband will be seething with rage. As if invoked by Augustus's words, Marina's phone vibrated. It was a message from Robert, the first since the divorce. She opened it with a racing heart. What kind of charade is this, Marina? I saw the photos. Were you already with this guy before signing the papers? Did you deceive me all this time? Marina read the message twice. His audacity was impressive. He, who had openly cheated on her for months, now had the nerve to accuse her. She typed a short, precise, definitive reply. Robert, my life is no longer your concern. Do not contact me again. She blocked the number before he could reply. Augustus watched the scene and nodded in approval. Very good. He doesn't even deserve your thoughts. The days turned into a strange routine. Marina began to attend events alongside Augustus. Charity dinners, inaugurations, business cocktails. Always photographed, always generating speculation. The gossip magazines went wild. News websites published articles daily. The pressure mounted. And then came the moment Augustus had planned from the beginning. A press conference. On the morning of the conference, Marina woke up with a knot in her stomach. Augustus reassured her over the phone. You'll do great. Just be yourself. Tell your story. The rest will happen naturally. The press conference was scheduled for 11 in the morning in the auditorium of one of the family's hotels, the Worthington Grand Hotel in Kensington. When Marina arrived, accompanied by Augustus, there were dozens of journalists, television cameras, photographers. Her heart pounded. Augustus went up to the stage first, adjusting the microphone. His presence was imposing, commanding attention effortlessly. Marina stood beside him, trying to control her breathing. Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for your presence. I know that in recent weeks, there has been much speculation about my personal life and about the identity of the woman who has been seen by my side. Today, I have come to clarify everything and officially introduce someone very special. He paused, creating suspense. The cameras didn't stop flashing. This woman is not a girlfriend. She is not a romantic interest. This woman is Marina Worthington Sterling, my niece. Daughter of my late brother, Gabriel Worthington. A murmur ran through the room. Journalists exchanged surprised glances. Augustus continued. For years, I did not know of Marina's existence. My brother passed away in an accident, over 3 decades ago, before he could acknowledge his paternity. But recently, through documents and letters left by Marina's mother, the truth came to light. We conducted DNA tests that confirmed the kinship. Marina is my niece, a legitimate heir of the Worthington family, and from today, she takes her rightful place in our family and in our businesses. The room erupted in questions. Augustus raised his hand, asking for silence. Marina will speak a little about her story, and then we will answer some questions. He stepped away from the microphone and made an encouraging gesture to Marina. She approached, her legs shaky, her throat dry. But when she looked at the audience, she saw curious, expectant, human faces, and she found her voice. Good afternoon. My name is Marina, and until a few months ago, I didn't know I had a family beyond my mother. I grew up in Croydon, raised by a strong, hard-working woman who gave me all the love she could, but who carried a painful secret alone. When she passed away, I was 18. I was alone. I married young, thinking I had found a new family, but I lost myself along the way. I abandoned my dreams, my studies, to be someone I wasn't. She paused, emotion rising in her throat, but controlled. Discovering my Uncle Augustus was like receiving a gift I didn't even know I needed. He welcomed me without judgment, gave me not only financial support, but something much more valuable. He gave me belonging, he gave me family, and now I am here to start anew, to honor the memory of the father I never knew, and to build the future my mother always wanted for me. The room was silent for a second, and then applause. Warm, sincere applause. Marina felt tears wanting to escape, but she blinked firmly. Augustus returned to the microphone. "We are available for a few questions now." Hands shot up immediately. Augustus pointed to a journalist from The Guardian. "Marina, you mentioned you were married. Did your ex-husband know about your family?" Marina took a deep breath. "No. I discovered my family during the divorce process. My ex-husband had nothing to do with this story. Our marriage ended for other reasons, and I prefer not to go into details. That phase of my life is behind me." Another reporter, this time from The Times. "Augustus, will Marina take on a role in the company?" Augustus smiled. "Marina has a background in interior design, interrupted during her marriage. We will resume her studies and, yes, she will play an active role in the reformulation and modernization of some of our hotels. I believe strongly in her talent." Questions continued for another 20 minutes, about the inheritance, about the plans, about the family. Marina answered with honesty and dignity, without directly attacking Robert, but making it clear that that chapter was closed. When the press conference ended, she and Augustus left through a side door, escorted by security. In the car, Marina finally broke down, not in tears of sadness, but of relief. "I did it, Uncle. I did it." Augustus squeezed her hand. "You were perfect. Now the world knows who you are, and your ex-husband will have to swallow all of this." That same night, the news exploded. All the portals, all the newspapers, all the social media spoke about Marina, the modern Cinderella, the lost heiress, the billionaire's niece. Her photos from the press conference circulated millions of times, and in each of them, Marina was radiant, confident, reborn. In his empty apartment in Notting Hill, where he still lived temporarily while looking for a bigger house, Robert watched the press conference on television. He was alone. Julia, the mistress, had gone out to meet her friends. Or so she said. Robert didn't even care. His eyes were glued to the screen, incredulous. That couldn't be the same Marina. The shy, quiet, submissive woman he had known. The woman who served dinner in silence and accepted his humiliations without complaining. That woman on the screen was different. She spoke with firmness. She smiled with confidence. She was the heiress of an empire. Robert felt something burn within him. It wasn't love. It had never been love. It was wounded ego. It was the feeling of having been made a fool of having let something valuable slip away without realizing it. He picked up his phone, tried to call Marina. Number blocked. Tried to send a message. Not delivered. Desperate, he called Mr. Davies, Marina's lawyer. "Mr. Davies, I need to speak to Marina. It's urgent." The lawyer's voice was cold, professional. "Mr. Thompson, Mrs. Sterling left clear instructions that she does not wish to be contacted. The divorce is finalized. There is nothing more to discuss between you." "But I need to..." "Have a good day, Mr. Thompson." The call ended. Robert threw his phone on the sofa, frustrated. Julia arrived at that moment, all smiles, but seeing his expression, she stopped. "Love, what happened?" Robert didn't even answer. He got up and went to the bedroom, slamming the door. Julia stood in the living room, confused, but soon shrugged and went to check her phone. She had also seen the news about Marina, and a small seed of doubt began to germinate in her mind. Was Robert really the prize she thought he was? Meanwhile, in the Kensington apartment, Marina and Augustus toasted with champagne. "To new beginnings, Marina, to the future you deserve. To new beginnings, Uncle, and to the family I finally found." The glasses clinked, sealing a pact, A new era was beginning, and for Robert, the nightmare was just starting. The Monday following the press conference began differently for Robert Thompson. He arrived at the Sterling and Associates construction office, where he worked as financial director, expecting the usual greetings from the receptionist. But her smile was different, smaller, forced. There was something in her eyes that Robert couldn't decipher. Pity? Disdain? He went up to the 10th floor where his office with a view of Oxford Street was located. Along the way, he noticed the glances, colleagues who looked away when he passed. Abruptly ceasing whispers, suppressed chuckles. Robert quickened his pace, feeling the discomfort grow. Upon entering his office, he found Marcus, his assistant, organizing papers on the desk. The young man was startled to see him. "Good morning, Mr. Thompson. I didn't know you'd be in so early." "Good morning, Marcus. Any problems?" No, everything's normal." But Marcus's tone of voice said otherwise. Robert dismissed his assistant and turned on his computer. Before starting work, he couldn't resist opening the browser. He typed his own name into Google. What he saw made his stomach churn. Gossip articles, society columns, blog posts, all talking about him, about how he had been a fool, how he had let a millionaire heiress slip away, how he had exchanged a woman of value for an affair. The comments were even worse. Taunts, criticisms. Some even called him blind, arrogant, a loser. Robert slammed the browser shut, his face burning with rage and humiliation. He tried to concentrate on work, but the hours dragged on. During the mid-morning board meeting, he noticed the atmosphere was strange. The CEO, Dr. Sterling, a 60-year-old man with white hair and a rigid posture, avoided looking directly at him. The other directors did the same. During the coffee break, Robert approached Claudia, the marketing director, a woman in her 40s who had always been cordial with him. "Claudia, can I speak with you for a minute?" She hesitated, but agreed. They went to the corridor. "Everyone's acting strange with me today. Did something happen that I don't know about?" Claudia sighed, clearly uncomfortable. "Robert, people saw the news about your ex-wife. And well, let's just say the way you treated her didn't exactly remain a secret. Julia commented on some things with her friends here at the company. About how you said your wife was boring, complacent. People are drawing conclusions." Robert felt his blood run cold. "That's none of anyone's business. It's my personal life." Claudia shrugged. "Maybe. But when your personal life involves the niece of one of the most powerful businessmen in the country, it becomes a matter of public interest. I'm just warning you. Be careful." She returned to the meeting room, leaving Robert alone in the corridor. He lightly punched the wall, frustrated. This was a nightmare. The following weeks were a silent torture. Robert felt the isolation grow around him. Invitations to happy hours stopped. Conversations in the corridors ceased when he approached. Even Julia started acting differently, less affectionate, more distant, always on her phone, always busy. One Friday, she simply didn't show up for the dinner they had planned. Robert waited at the restaurant for an hour until he received a dry message. "Sorry, Robert. I'm tired. I think we need a break." He called immediately, but she didn't answer. He sent messages. No reply. He returned home alone, feeling for the first time the bitter taste of rejection. While Robert sank, Marina blossomed. She re-enrolled in interior design college, picking up where she had left off 8 years ago. The professors were enchanted by her dedication and talent. She began working directly with Augustus, visiting the hotel chain's properties, studying renovations, proposing changes. Her creative vision and keen eye for detail impressed everyone. One Sunday, Augustus took her to see the family's oldest hotel, the Worthington Lodge, located in the Cotswolds. It was a historic property, full of charm, but in urgent need of modernization. The hotel manager, a man named Philip Anderson, received them personally. Philip was a 38-year-old man, tall with discreet glasses and a gentle smile. He had that air of someone who loves what he does, explaining every detail of the hotel with genuine passion. Marina found herself listening attentively, asking questions, writing everything down. There was something about him that was different from the men she had known. An honest simplicity, a calm presence. During the hotel tour, Philip showed them the rooms that needed renovation, the common areas that could be revitalized, the balconies with mountain views that were the place's great differential. Marina took notes, took photos, already visualizing the possibilities. "What do you think, Marina? Does it have potential?" Augustus asked, observing his niece with pride. "It has a lot of potential, Uncle. This place can become one of the most charming hotels in the region. It just needs care and attention to detail." Philip smiled. "That's exactly what I always thought. But we never had the support to make the necessary changes. Now, with you here, I think it will finally happen." The visit lasted all day. In the late afternoon, Augustus had to return to London for an urgent meeting, but suggested Marina stay a few more days to better study the project. She agreed. Philip offered one of the best rooms in the hotel, with a view of the valley. That night, Marina dined alone in the hotel restaurant. The food was simple but tasty, and the atmosphere had a cozy feel. Philip appeared to check if everything was all right. "May I sit for a minute? Or would you prefer to dine in peace?" Marina smiled and pointed to the empty chair. "Please do. In fact, I'd like to know more about the hotel's history. Have you worked here long?" Philip sat down, ordered a coffee, and began to tell his story. He was from the Cotswolds, the son of a gardener who had worked at the hotel for decades. He had grown up playing in the corridors, knew every corner, every story. He had studied hospitality on a scholarship and returned to work in the place he loved. He never wanted to leave. He never wanted the glamour of the big city. He wanted to take care of that piece of history. Marina listened fascinated. There was genuine passion in every word Philip spoke, and there was something more. A kindness, an attention to detail, a way of looking at her as if he truly saw her, not as the heiress, not as someone's ex-wife, but as Marina. Simply Marina. "You really love this place, don't you?" Philip smiled, a little embarrassed. "I do. I know it might sound silly, but it's as if this hotel is a part of me. I want to see it shine again." "It's not silly, it's beautiful. We need more people who love what they do." They talked late into the night, about architecture, about design, about their individual dreams. Marina discovered that Philip read poetry, played the guitar, enjoyed hiking the mountain trails. He discovered that she loved breakfast with fresh bread, that she was afraid of heights but loved mountains from afar, that she had never learned to swim because she never had the time. When Marina finally went up to her room, it was almost midnight. She lay on the comfortable bed, looking out the window at the stars that shone intensely in the clear mountain sky. And she realized she was smiling, a true, spontaneous smile, something she hadn't done in a long time. Back in London, Robert's situation worsened. On Tuesday of the following week, he was called to the CEO's office. Dr. Sterling was serious, sitting behind the imposing desk. He didn't offer coffee. He didn't exchange pleasantries. "Robert, I need to be direct with you. Worthington Construction has canceled all contracts with us." Robert felt the ground disappear beneath his feet. "What?" "But they are our biggest clients. This will affect half of our projects." "I know, and the board is very concerned. They haven't given official explanations, but we all know the reason. Your personal situation is affecting the company's business." "This is absurd. My personal life has nothing to do with my work." Dr. Sterling sighed, tired. "Robert, I've always considered you a good professional, but you need to understand the reality. Augustus Worthington has influence, and you humiliated his niece. There's no way to ignore that. The board has requested your resignation." Robert felt as if he had been punched in the stomach. "Resignation? Are you firing me?" "We're giving you the option to leave with dignity, resign and receive the severance package, or you will be dismissed for just cause due to the damages caused to the company." Robert wanted to scream. He wanted to bang on the table. He wanted to say this was unfair, but there was nothing he could do. He was cornered. "I resign." The words came out bitter, choked. Dr. Sterling nodded, relieved. I'll handle the necessary procedures. You have until the end of the week to clear out your office. Robert left that office like a zombie. He returned to his room, grabbed a cardboard box, and began to pack his belongings. Diplomas, photos, expensive, pens. Everything seemed meaningless now. Marcus appeared at the door, visibly embarrassed. Mr. Thompson, I'm sorry. If you need help with anything. Robert didn't even look at him. You can go, Marcus. I don't need anything. The young man left in silence. Robert continued packing his things, feeling the weight of humiliation. He, who had always been successful, admired, envied. Now he was just another unemployed man carrying a box. Upon arriving home that night, he found Julia packing her bags. What are you doing? She didn't even look at him. I'm leaving, Robert. This isn't working. What do you mean? Because of the job? I'll get another job. I'm good at what I do. Julia laughed, a humorless laugh. It's not just that. It's everything. You're ruined. Your reputation is destroyed. And I don't want to be around when everything completely collapses. So that's it? You were with me for the money? Julia stopped packing and finally looked at him. Don't be a hypocrite, Robert. You were also with me for appearances. It was never about love. It was never about connection. Now that the game is over, everyone goes their own way. She grabbed her bags and left, slamming the door. Robert was left alone in the silent apartment. For the first time, loneliness hit him with full force. He slumped onto the sofa, staring at the ceiling, trying to understand how his life had crumbled so quickly. And while he sank into the shadows, Marina shone brighter and brighter, in the hotels, in her studies, and who knows, in the heart of someone who finally saw her for real. The following months were a complete transformation for both, but in opposite directions. Marina plunged headfirst into the renovation project of the Worthington Lodge. She traveled to the Cotswolds at least twice a month, sometimes staying for a whole week. Each visit was an opportunity not only to work, but to get to know Philip better. What began as professional conversations about fabrics, colors, and layouts slowly transformed into something deeper. Walks along the mountain trails in the late afternoon, dinners that extended late into the night, shared laughter over small things. Philip had a gift for making Marina feel light, free from the weight she had carried for so long. One Friday night, after an intense day supervising the works, Philip invited Marina to a small classical music concert at the town's cultural center. She accepted, excited. She wore a wool sweater and jeans, simple but elegant. When Philip saw her, his eyes shone in a way that made Marina's heart race. You look beautiful. Thank you. You look very nice too. They walked to the cultural center, enjoying the pleasant cold of the mountain night. During the concert, sitting side by side, Marina felt Philip's hand lightly brush hers. She didn't pull away. When he intertwined his fingers with hers, gently, Marina felt a peace she had never experienced before. There were no demands. There were no games, just two hearts meeting at the right time. After the concert, they walked through the illuminated streets, still holding hands. Philip took her to a small cafe that stayed open late. They ordered hot chocolate and carrot cake. Marina, can I ask you a personal question? She smiled. Of course. Do you still think about him? Your ex-husband? Marina pondered for a moment, stirring her hot chocolate with a spoon. I do. Sometimes. But not in the way you imagine. I don't miss him. I don't long for him. I think about how I let so much time pass without valuing myself, about how I accepted crumbs, thinking that was all I deserved. But with each passing day, those thoughts become rarer, especially when I'm here, especially when you're here. Marina looked into his eyes, determined. Especially when I'm with you. Philip held her hand across the table, firmly but without pressure. I don't want to be a transition for you, Marina. I don't want to be the guy who helps you forget someone. I want to be someone you truly choose. You're not a transition, Philip. You're someone who reminds me who I am, someone who sees me, truly. They sat there looking at each other, and Marina knew. She knew this was different. This was real. While Marina found true love, Robert faced a harsher reality. Without a job, without his mistress, without the status that had always defined his identity, he found himself forced to return to his parents' house in Barking. His mother, Mrs. Martha, a 65-year-old woman, received him with love but also with disappointment in her eyes. His father, Mr. Gerald, retired from the automotive industry, could barely look at his son. "You threw everything away, Robert. You had a good wife, a stable job, a life. And why? Out of pride? Because you thought you deserved more?" Robert had no answer. He locked himself in the room that had been his as a teenager, now transformed into a storage room. He spent days without leaving, browsing the internet, seeing Marina's photos. Her at events, her at college, her at the hotels. Always smiling, always radiant, always accompanied by that dark-haired man with glasses who appeared more and more in the photos. The anger Robert felt initially was slowly replaced by something worse. Emptiness. A deep and painful emptiness that no distraction could fill. He tried to look for a job, but his reputation preceded him. The interviews were cold, superficial, always the same excuse. "We'll be in touch." And the contact never came. It was his mother who finally pulled him out of that state. One Saturday morning, she entered his room without knocking and forcefully opened the curtains. "Enough, Robert. You're going to get up, take a shower, and come with me." "Mom, I'm not in the mood for—" "I don't care, you are." Mrs. Martha dragged him to a small evangelical church she attended. Robert, who had never been religious, sat on the wooden pew, somewhat embarrassed. The pastor spoke about new beginnings, about forgiveness, about the chance to become a better person. The words touched something in Robert. It wasn't a sudden revelation. It was just a small crack in the armor of pride he had built. After the service, Mrs. Martha introduced him to a friend, Dr. Henry, a psychologist who offered free sessions to people in difficulty. Robert initially resisted, but eventually accepted. The first session was difficult. He could barely speak. But gradually, week after week, he began to open up. "I treated my wife as if she were invisible, as if she existed only to serve me. I cheated, I humiliated, and now I realize I destroyed the only person who truly cared about me." Dr. Henry listened without judgment. "And how do you feel about that now?" "Shame. A lot of shame. And regret. This is the beginning, Robert. Recognizing the mistake is the first step. But you need to understand that you cannot change the past. You can only build a different future." Therapy sessions became Robert's anchor. He started working in a small accounting firm that belonged to a cousin. Nothing glamorous, nothing close to what he had before. But it was honest, and for the first time, Robert began to value work for work's sake, not for the status it brought. Meanwhile, Marina and Philip made their relationship official. Augustus met Philip and approved of him immediately. He saw in the hotel manager something he had always wanted for his niece, someone who would love her for the person she was, not for what she possessed. One Sunday in September, Philip took Marina to meet his family. The simple house on the outskirts of the Cotswolds was full of warmth and love. Philip's mother, Mrs. Rose, hugged Marina as if she were a daughter. His father, Mr. John, proudly showed off the garden he cultivated. Philip's younger siblings filled her with questions about London and the hotels. During lunch, Mrs. Rose took Marina's hand. "My son has been different since he met you. Happier, lighter. Thank you for making my boy smile like this." Marina felt her eyes well up. "It's I who thank you, Mrs. Rose. Philip showed me that I could be truly loved." That night, back at the hotel, Philip and Marina walked to the deck, overlooking the valley. The city lights twinkled below. Philip held Marina's hands and took a deep breath. "Marina, I know it hasn't been that long since we met, but I'm sure of one thing. You are the person I want by my side. I don't have much to offer, I'm not rich. I'm not powerful. But I love you, truly, with everything I am." Marina smiled, tears streaming down her face. "Philip, you offer me everything that matters. Respect, affection, partnership. You see me. And that's worth more than any fortune." They stood there, looking at each other, and Marina knew. She knew this was different. This was real. The months flew by. The Worthington Lodge project was completed, and the result exceeded all expectations. The hotel was reopened with an elegant party that attracted tourism critics, journalists, and personalities. Marina was applauded for her exceptional work. Augustus couldn't have been prouder. During the party, Philip found a moment alone with Augustus. "Mr. Worthington, I need to speak with you." "Of course, Philip. What is it?" Philip was nervous but determined. "I love your niece, and I want to ask her to marry me. But first, I'd like your blessing." Augustus smiled, his eyes welling up. "My blessing you've always had, Philip. You care for my Marina in a way I never imagined seeing. Of course, you have my blessing. And my gratitude." A week later, during a walk on a trail that had become special to them, Philip knelt and asked Marina to marry him. She said yes, without hesitation. The ring was simple, a small emerald in white gold, but for Marina, it was the most beautiful ring in the world. When the engagement was announced on social media, with beautiful photos of the smiling couple, the news spread quickly. The same magazines that had previously speculated about Marina and Augustus now celebrated the genuine and touching romance of the heiress with the hotel manager. The story of true love captivated hearts. Robert saw the news on a rainy October afternoon. He was at the accounting office organizing spreadsheets when a colleague commented, "Mate, did you see our neighbor's ex-wife got engaged? The Worthington heiress." "What a story, eh?" Robert felt his chest tighten. He went to the bathroom, locked himself in one of the stalls, and finally allowed the tears to come. He cried for the first time since everything had collapsed. He cried for lost time, for wrong choices, for the arrogance that had blinded him. He cried for the woman he had scorned and who now shone far from him. When he returned home that night, he locked himself in his room and wrote a letter he might never send, but which he needed to write. In it, he acknowledged all his mistakes. He asked for forgiveness, even knowing he didn't deserve it. He thanked Marina for being, unintentionally, the mirror that showed him his flaws. The letter was sincere, painful, true, but Robert kept it in a drawer. Marina didn't need it. Not yet. Perhaps never. She was building her happiness, and Robert needed to build his own redemption. Spring arrived, bringing with it renewal and hope. Marina and Philip set their wedding for December, in an intimate ceremony by the sea in Cornwall, on England's south coast. The place had special significance. It was near the small village where Marina's mother, Mrs. Sarah, had been born and raised before moving to Croydon. Marina wanted that moment of joy to be connected to her roots, honoring the woman who had raised her with so much love. The preparations were simple but full of affection. Marina didn't want ostentation. She wanted authenticity. She chose a white lace dress, light and elegant, with short sleeves and a discreet train. Philip opted for a beige linen suit, perfect for a beach wedding. The guest list was small: Augustus and some friends of the Worthington family, Philip's entire family, some of Marina's college classmates, Mr. Davies, the lawyer who had been by her side during the divorce, and some people who worked at the hotels and had become dear to the couple. The night before the wedding, Marina and Augustus dined alone at a restaurant overlooking the sea. He held his niece's hand across the table, emotional. "Tomorrow, you will begin a new phase, Marina, and I couldn't be happier for you. You deserve every moment of joy you are experiencing. Uncle, without you, none of this would be possible. You gave me not only a family, but the chance to find myself, to discover who I truly am." Augustus shook his head, his eyes shining. You were always this strong and incredible woman. I just helped you remember that, and tomorrow I will have the honor of walking you down the aisle, something your father would have loved to do." Marina hugged her uncle, feeling gratitude overflow. In that man, she had found not just a relative, but a true father, someone who saw her, who valued her, who supported her unconditionally. While Marina prepared for the happiest day of her life, Robert faced his own demons. Therapy with Dr. Henry continued, now twice a week. Robert delved deep into the process of self-discovery, however painful it was. He began to attend church more regularly, not out of imposition, but because he found there a community that welcomed him without judgment. In a support group the church offered, Robert met other people who had also lost everything because of wrong choices, men and women who were rebuilding their lives brick by brick. Listening to their stories made Robert realize he wasn't alone, and that redemption, though difficult, was possible. He started volunteering at an institution that helped vulnerable young people. Teaching basic financial literacy to teenagers who had never had opportunities made Robert understand how much he had wasted, how privileged and arrogant he had been. Those young people fought for crumbs while he had thrown an entire banquet in the trash. In one of the therapy sessions, Dr. Henry challenged him. "Robert, you've spent months punishing yourself, recognizing your mistakes, but it's time to ask, what are you going to do with everything you've learned? How will you use this pain to become a better person?" Robert thought long before answering. "I want to help other people not make the same mistakes. I want to be honest about my past. I want to rebuild my life differently, based on real values, not on empty status." Dr. Henry smiled. "Then start now. Stop waiting for the perfect moment. The moment is now." That's how Robert made a decision. He accepted a permanent job at his cousin's small accounting firm with a modest but decent salary. He moved into a small, also modest apartment that was his own. He began giving free lectures at public schools on financial education, and slowly, day by day, he built a life that had meaning. Marina's wedding day dawned sunny, with a clear blue sky and a gentle breeze from the sea. The ceremony would take place in the late afternoon, on a wooden deck set up on the sand, facing the ocean. White chairs were arranged in rows. Simple arrangements of wildflowers decorated the path. Marina got ready in a hotel suite with the help of Mrs. Rose, who had become like a second mother. She styled Marina's hair in soft waves and adjusted the delicate veil. When Marina looked in the mirror, she saw someone complete, someone who was finally at peace with herself. Augustus knocked on the door, elegant in his light gray suit. Upon seeing Marina, he needed a moment to compose himself. "You are radiant. Your father would be so proud." Marina took his arm, and together they descended to the beach. The music began to play, a soft guitar melody. The guests stood up. Philip waited at the improvised altar, visibly moved. Upon seeing Marina walking towards him, he couldn't hold back his tears. Augustus handed Marina's hand to Philip and whispered, "Take care of her." Philip nodded, firm. "With my life." The officiant, a pastor friend of Philip's family, conducted the ceremony with simplicity and emotion. But the most touching moment was when it came time for the vows. Marina and Philip had written their own. Marina began, her voice firm but laden with emotion. "Philip, for a long time I lived invisible. I thought I needed to diminish myself to fit into someone else's dreams, but you taught me that true love doesn't diminish. It expands. You see me, you listen to me, you value me. With you, I discovered that I can be myself, completely, without fear. I promise to love you with transparency, to respect you with honor, and to build a life with you based on truth and partnership. Thank you for showing me what it means to be truly loved." Philip had to take a deep breath before starting, tears streaming freely. "Marina, when I met you, I saw a light in you that had been hidden for a long time. To see that light shine brighter every day has been the greatest privilege of my life. You are talented, courageous, generous. I promise never to make you feel small. I promise to support you in every dream. I promise to love you not for what you have, but for what you are. And I promise to be by your side through storms and calm, because you are my safe harbor." There wasn't a dry eye in the audience, Augustus cried discreetly. Mrs. Rose sobbed with emotion. Even the officiant had to pause to compose himself. After the exchange of rings and the kiss that sealed the union, the guests applauded warmly. The party that followed was joyful and relaxed. Tables with homemade food, live music, dancing on the sand. Marina and Philip opened the dance floor with a simple waltz, looking at each other as if no one else existed in the world. During the party, Augustus made an emotional toast. "When I discovered I had a niece, my world changed. Marina brought light, love, and purpose back into my life. To see her today, happy and loved as she deserves, is the fulfillment of a dream I didn't even know I had. Philip, welcome to the family. Take care of our treasure," Philip replied, holding Marina by the waist. "You can be sure I will. She's everything to me." The party continued late into the night. Marina danced with her uncle, with Philip, with her in-laws. She laughed until her stomach hurt. She felt completely, absolutely happy. Meanwhile, more than 200 miles away, Robert spent Saturday alone in his small apartment. He saw some wedding photos that circulated on social media. Marina was stunning. Her smile was genuine, radiant, and the man next to her looked at her with an adoration Robert had never shown. For the first time, Robert felt no anger, no envy. He felt a deep sadness, but accompanied by acceptance. He picked up the letter he had written months ago and reread it. He decided it was time. He put the letter in an envelope, addressed it to Augustus Worthington, and took it to the post office the following Monday. He didn't expect a reply. He didn't want forgiveness. He just wanted Marina to know, even if she never read it, that he understood, that he had changed, that she had been, unintentionally, the catalyst for his transformation. After sending the letter, Robert went to the church support group. He shared his complete story for the first time. He spoke about the marriage he had destroyed, about the arrogance that had blinded him, about the loss that had taught him. People listened without judgment. And in the end, someone said, "Robert, you can't change the past, but you can use everything you've learned to help other people. This is your chance to turn pain into purpose." And that's exactly what Robert decided to do. He would no longer be the arrogant executive. He would be someone who would use his downfall to help others not fall. He started an anonymous blog about toxic relationships, ego, and rebuilding. The posts touched many people, men and women who saw themselves in his words, who recognized their own mistakes. Marina and Philip returned from their honeymoon in the Maldives refreshed and even more connected. They moved into a cozy house in the Cotswolds near the hotel. Marina continued working with Augustus, now leading design, projects across the entire hotel chain. Philip was promoted to regional director. Together they formed an unbeatable team, professionally and personally. 6 months after the wedding on a June morning, Marina discovered she was pregnant. The news filled the house with joy. Philip was overjoyed. Augustus, upon learning he would be a great uncle, cried with emotion. The family was growing. Love was multiplying. And while Marina prepared a crib for the daughter on the way, Robert continued his journey of reconstruction. Alone, but no longer empty. Working, but with purpose. Living with the awareness that true change comes from within, and that sometimes losing everything is the only way to find what truly matters. 3 years had passed since Marina and Philip's wedding. The house in the Cotswolds now echoed with the clear laughter of Helen, a girl with curly brown hair and curious eyes who had just turned 2. She was the joy of the family, adored by her parents, by great-uncle Augustus, and by her paternal grandparents who pampered her without limits. Marina had blossomed in every sense. She had become a respected interior designer with projects that went beyond the family hotels. Decoration magazines published her work. She had given lectures at universities, but what mattered most to Marina was the balance she had achieved. She worked, but she didn't negate herself. She loved, but she didn't lose herself. She was a mother, wife, professional, and above all, she was herself, complete and happy. Philip had taken over as general director of all the hotel chain's properties in the mountain region. Augustus, already thinking about slowing down, trusted his son-in-law more and more, who had proven to be not only competent but visionary. The Worthington Empire was in excellent hands. One Friday afternoon in March, Marina was in her home office reviewing the designs for a new boutique hotel to be opened in Brighton when the postman rang the doorbell. She answered, receiving a plain envelope with no clear sender. The recipient was her. Marina opened the envelope and recognized the handwriting immediately, even after all those years. It was from Robert. Her heart quickened, not from fear or anger, but from curiosity. She sat on the balcony where she could see Helen playing in the garden under the nanny's care, and began to read. The letter was long, meticulously handwritten. Robert didn't ask for forgiveness, directly. He didn't try to justify his actions. He simply recounted his journey, how he had lost everything, how he had hit rock bottom, how, at that bottom, he had found the chance to rebuild himself. He spoke about therapy, about volunteer work, about the lectures he gave at schools. He talked about the blog he maintained, helping other people recognize toxic patterns in their relationships. He wrote about the night he saw her wedding photos, about how he finally understood the magnitude of what he had done, not just to her, but to himself. The letter ended with a "thank you." Marina, you were, unintentionally, the mirror that showed me who I truly was. An empty, arrogant man, incapable of seeing value in what he had. It took years of therapy for me to understand that I hurt you because I didn't know how to deal with my own wounds. This is not an excuse. It is merely an explanation. You owe me nothing. Neither forgiveness, nor recognition, nor even a thought. But I needed you to know that I have changed. Not to win you back, that would be ridiculous and impossible, but because you deserve to know that your courage to break free had an impact. You taught me, even unintentionally, that a person's true worth is not in what they possess, but in what they are. Thank you for being strong when I was weak. Thank you for leaving when I made you invisible. And thank you for inadvertently forcing me to see myself. I hope your life is everything you always deserved. With respect and gratitude, Robert. Marina folded the letter slowly, her eyes fixed on the mountain horizon. She felt a pang of something that was neither anger nor sadness. It was compassion. Compassion for who she had been in that marriage, and compassion for the man Robert was trying to become. Philip arrived home at that moment, picking Helen up and showering her with kisses. He saw Marina on the balcony, absorbed, and approached her. "Everything all right, love?" Marina showed him the letter. Philip read it in silence, his expression serious but understanding. When he finished, he sat beside his wife. "How are you feeling?" Marina thought before answering. "I'm at peace. This letter doesn't change anything he did. It doesn't erase the wounds. But it shows that people can change. And I like to believe that we all have the capacity to become better. Will you reply?" Marina shook her head. "No, he doesn't need my validation, and I don't need to close this chapter again. It's already closed, but I'll keep the letter. As a reminder that forgiving doesn't mean forgetting or accepting. It means releasing the weight and moving forward." Philip kissed her forehead. "You're incredible, you know." Marina smiled, the kind of serene smile of someone who had found her place in the world. "I just learned to value myself, and you had a lot to do with that." That night, after putting Helen to sleep, Marina put the letter in a memory box she kept in her closet, along with photos of her mother, letters from the father she had never known, her own wedding invitation, and other important mementos. That letter was part of her story, but it didn't define who she was. In the following weeks, life continued its happy rhythm. Marina finalized the Brighton project and was invited to give a lecture at a design conference in London. She accepted, excited. In the audience, among renowned designers and students, she shared not only techniques, but her story. She spoke about abandoning her studies, about losing her voice, about rediscovering her passion. The lecture was a success, and Marina received proposals for new projects. Augustus, now 75, began to talk about retirement. Not complete, but partial. He wanted to travel, see the world, enjoy his granddaughter and the time he had left. In a family meeting, he announced his decision to transfer the company presidency to Philip and appoint Marina as the official creative director for the entire chain. It was recognition for everything she had built. Marina, you have honored the Worthington name in a way I never imagined possible, not just through the hotels, but through the heart you brought to all of it. This is your home, this is your family, and I couldn't be prouder. While the Worthington family celebrated, Robert continued his discreet but meaningful life. He had met a woman in the church support group, a widowed teacher named Beatrice, who was also rebuilding her life after painful losses. They began to meet for coffee, honest conversations about pain and reconstruction. There was no rush. There were no games. Just two survivors learning to trust again. Robert never knew if Marina had read his letter. He never received a reply. And that was okay. He hadn't written expecting anything in return. He had written to close a cycle within himself. And with that cycle closed, he could finally look forward. One Sunday afternoon, Marina took Helen to visit her grandmother Sarah's grave in Croydon. It was something she did a few times a year, so her daughter would know the story of the great-grandmother she would never meet. She placed fresh flowers on the grave and sat on the grass, Helen playing beside her. "Mom, if you could see me now, I think you'd be happy. I found my family. I found my love. I found myself. Everything you ever wanted for me. Thank you for being strong, for raising me alone, for keeping the truth so I could discover it when I was ready. I love you. I will always love you." Helen ran to her, offering a flower she had picked from the path. Marina kissed her daughter's forehead, feeling a deep connection between the generations. Her mother, her, Helen, a line of strong, surviving, loved women. Upon returning home, Marina found Philip preparing dinner. He was humming softly, Helen in his arms helping to set the table. The scene was so perfect, so simple, so true that Marina had to stop at the door just to absorb it. That was happiness. It wasn't glamour. It wasn't ostentation. It was connection. It was love. It was being seen, valued, truly loved. That night, after Helen was asleep, Marina and Philip sat on the balcony with wine and cheese, looking at the stars that shone intensely in the clear mountain sky. "What are you thinking about?" Philip asked, putting his arm around her shoulders. "How surprising life is. 5 years ago, I was in an office signing divorce papers, thinking my life was over. And in fact, it was just beginning." Philip kissed the top of her head. "Sometimes endings are just beginnings in disguise." Marina agreed, snuggling into his embrace. "And sometimes, the best revenge isn't to destroy those who hurt us. It's to build a life so full that the past becomes irrelevant." Exactly. They sat there in comfortable silence, two souls who found each other at the right time, for the right reason. Marina thought of Robert briefly. She wished, sincerely, that he would find his own peace. Not for what he had done for her, but despite it. Because Marina had learned that carrying grudges was an unnecessary burden, and she had carried too much weight in her life already. The cold mountain wind brought the scent of pines and wet earth. From inside the house, the soft cry of Helen was heard. Marina got up to attend to her, but Philip held her back. "I'll go. You stay here and enjoy the stars." He went inside, leaving Marina alone on the balcony. She looked at the starry sky and smiled. A smile of gratitude, of fulfillment, of silent victory. It wasn't revenge that saved her. It wasn't wealth. It wasn't status. It was the courage to value herself, to demand to be seen, to start anew. And in that new beginning, Marina found not only a family, a love, or a career. She found herself. And that, in the end, was the greatest victory of all. The end of the story. If Marina's journey touched your heart, if you were moved by this story of new beginnings and self-love, be sure to subscribe to the channel to receive more stories that will make you reflect on relationships, family, and the importance of valuing yourself. Leave a like if this story inspired you and tell us in the comments, have you ever had to start from scratch in life? We want to hear your story. And remember, it's never too late to be happy. It's never too late to choose yourself. Until the next story.